Hey, it's Susan Nicely, and welcome to today's episode of iTravel Nurse TV. Nice to see ya. Travel company in review, Next Medical Staffing. Boy, guys, stay away from Next Medical Staffing in Dayton, Ohio. Holy cow. Boy, they are a horrible company. I had never heard of them before, but they contacted me, finding my profile online like they find most travel nurse profiles. And, they said they had some kind of an exclusive contract with St. Joseph's Hospital down in Tucson, Arizona, or at least a good relationship with them and in place a lot of travelers there. But boy, I got to tell you, boy, they really just bit the dust on this one. They left me high and dry, and it was so bad that I have actually reported it all the way up through law enforcement channels, a couple different police departments, Tucson Police, Dayton Police, Pima County Sheriff's Office, up through Congress, through the U.S. Marshal Service, to Homeland Security investigations. I've been to Customs. I've been into Border Patrol on this whole issue. Boy, man, dude, I gotta tell you, they are horrible. Horrible, horrible. You know what? You cannot just leave a nurse high and dry. And then I don't have a lot of nice things to say about St. Joseph's Hospital in Tucson, Arizona either, at least some of their staff. Now, here's the deal with Next Medical Staffing. So they recruited me into this job at St. Joseph's Hospital in Tucson in the emergency room. I interviewed with the manager. She seemed like she knew what she was doing. I actually liked her. I liked her up until she got rid of me. So, Anyway, the interesting part about it is that initially Next Medical Staffing went what I would consider over and above the call of duty. I mean, they paid for my housing initially. When I first said that I would do housing, then they said they'd pay for housing. And then they paid for uniforms, and the uniforms weren't going to get to San Ysidro, California in time for me when I needed to leave, so they had them rerouted into Tucson, Arizona. So they started off good. Here's where they blew it. I asked them if they would do housing longer than 2 weeks, and they refused to do housing longer than 2 weeks. And then on top of that, on the second week that I worked like a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Excellent clinical skills. My nurse manager apparently really, really liked me. I only had one orientation day on the floor, and other travel nurses that came in the same time I did were like forced to do more orientation. Like I said, we're familiar with the Cerner computerized program like I was. So I got out of orientation in one day where other nurses did not. So I was already in good with my manager and good clinical skills and all that. But what happened is that I went to Mexico on my day off on Friday. And then I didn't check my email on Friday, and then I came back, checked my email on Saturday, and Next Medical Staffing had emailed me, and they canceled my contract, not because of nursing clinical reasons, but rather they didn't like my personal situation that involved my son. Well, here's what the deal was. These nurses were actually, just sort of pressuring me for some of my personal information. I disclosed some of it. I said I had a very, very complicated situation that involved my son. I have to use Congress. It's extremely complicated because of the foreign affairs issue. Now, I can't even overemphasize this enough. It's complicated, it's complicated, it's complicated. And I said, you can watch my YouTube channel, War Crimes Unit, and I have books about this on Amazon and so forth, and pointed them to books called America's Love Affair with Al-Qaeda, Genocide, America's Love Affair with Al-Qaeda, because that is the nature of the case. It's a terrorism case, it's a national security case. You see, but these nurses, they went to my nurse manager and said that I was talking in conspiracies. No, I'm not talking in conspiracies. I'm a victim of terrorism. It's well known to the United States government. It's well known to other governments throughout the world, and other the United Nations, and up through the ICC and so forth. It was very complicated. But here's the problem with Next Medical Staffing. They just emailed me and basically told me I don't have a job and get the hell out of my hotel. Well, thankfully I was already in Mexico. And they gave no justification as to why they just canceled this contract. They didn't even call and say, hey, Susan, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. They just basically left me, high end to dry based on personal reasons rather than anything that had to do with nursing. And then on top of that, You know, I was making $40 an hour, so my weekly paycheck for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday should have been $1,440 minus housing and minus a medical, you know, the medical care deductions, medical insurance deductions for the week, and then plus we were splitting up the first week of housing up over 4 weeks. But basically, what it ended up being is that my $1,440 check turned out to be $82 because basically Next Medical Staffing swiped all of it and left me high and dry. You know, I recommend you not go with them. It's today's episode of iTravel Nurse TV. I'll see you next